All right, what's up? Good morning. Welcome back. Welcome back to another live session. For those of you tuning in on YouTube, remember the disclaimer: day trading is risky. Do not trade with money that you cannot afford to lose. This is not the place to try to pull a quick one and to be betting it all on black or red or whatever color you like. All right. It's not poker, it's not blackjack. We have to treat the market with respect and always remember that there's risk on the other side of the trade. And so, with that being said, it's good to use smaller size or simulator to improve, to gain the consistency that you would like before utilizing a lot of share size. All right. Other than that, remember to be careful of impersonating accounts, fake accounts, things like that. Me or any of the lead members here, we will never message you first. Okay, with that being said, it's definitely a good time to check out the beautiful gap scan here to see what we have moving up. So there's a couple of tickers here that's looking decent. I'm gonna write them down and get ready to go here. So we have AHMA, which looks like it was a good one for pre-market here. We had a nice big push, although only one leg here for this massive move. But before that, we did see a breakout over 718, which did push higher here to 981. Pull back, red to green over the highs there. So this one had a couple of opportunities and then a bigger extension. After that, mostly consolidation. And then now we're kind of back down here. So it's hard to say if we could see a new high again. It's just tough to say. It's probably ran its course. If it did, then it's fine. This one probably will be summed up more of a pre-market opportunity. And those of you who are trading pre-market, hopefully you might have gotten something out of it. AHMA, I'll keep it on watch just in case it happens to make new highs here again into the open. ATON, which is the next one down, seems like more of an after-hour play. Big move here at 335 into after hours, and since then we've pulled back. But what I've noticed is that we've been seeing more stocks that are selling off below the VWAP, curling into new highs into the open. So the ones that are actually closer to pre-market highs are sometimes making a new high into the open, one or two candles, and then selling off, or sometimes just selling off right away. And the stocks coming from the depths are seem to be the ones that are holding up a little bit better. But we'll see. So we have a five symbol stock here, BCAR W, which seems like a warrant actually. Let me see if there's anything here. BCAR W. No, okay, the volume is really light. XAIR coming down, which was hitting the scans not so long ago. So this one is closer to this is typically the stock I would like to look at into the open, and hopefully this one could hold. But we've been seeing these stocks like this give a candle and then sell off, right? So will we be able to hold up here, being that this one's a little closer to the pre-market high? ATON, XAIR. Yesterday we also kept it simple, just two stocks. DCOI. Let me just see. DCOI. This one also looks decent. Let me turn on my screen recording here. So I think I'm going to leave it at these four and try to narrow it down. Of course, whichever ones do sell off and is not able to curl back up, I'll kind of just leave those ones and then focus on what is strong, what is holding up. We're going to, of course, similar to yesterday, we're going to look to use small size, aim for those key trades around the support areas, and look to sell into strength. Not looking to do too much scalping, not looking to trade aggressively on resumptions, just, taking it easy, nice and slow, nice and steady. Steady Eddie is the key here. For those of you tuning in on YouTube, don't forget to hit the thumbs up as you're tuning in. We do appreciate it. I hope you guys also appreciate the transparency here. As you guys know, I am #1 in transparency. Let me fix the screen, by the way. Let's get off of the dual screen. That way the chart is in frame. Okay, here we go. Relentless trader, #1 in transparency, showing the people everything all the time. So DCOI, what I need to do, DCOY. Okay, all right, interesting. All right, ATON, and then I'm gonna have up maybe, let's see, XAIR, how are we doing again? I might watch this one into the open. It's hard to say which one is gonna be the best one. But I have the other two on the other screens here, at least that way I could see if, you know, one of them takes off, I can switch over and start getting involved. We got 4 minutes to the opening bell. Just getting a couple more trend lines up top. And I'll be good to go. Let's see, volume. Check, check, looks good. All right, so the 2-minute warning is coming up. It's another beautiful day here to exercise discipline. I want to come back to my notes and just remind myself of a couple of key things here. So I wrote down yesterday to be careful of selling early after having a good entry, right? We need to just hold towards the lows of our support. If we get stopped out of the trade, we get stopped out of the trade rather than taking profits too soon. We got to stop taking that 5-cent gain, that 3-4 cent gain. It's not a scalp trade. Just give the stock more time and get the bulk of the position, the exits, higher, right? Let's see here. So if we do start to break out into a new threshold and the stock seems pretty bullish, like we have momentum, that's where I can be a little bit more aggressive towards getting in on some of those 3-bar plays kind of entries. But if we're in that beginning stage where we're not super sure if we're like really seeing good momentum, it's just not worth the trade. It's just a little too risky. Got to aim for more, you know, previous support levels that we've seen. And then once we do get an uptrend, whichever stock ends up being the stock of the day, once we get multiple green candles in a row, and then we start to see consolidation for more than 2-3 minutes, it's more than likely a short-term backside, meaning the stock could maybe curl back up in the next hour or two, or even next 30 minutes. But for that moment, the uptrending move is more than likely done. So got to keep in mind those 3 things here to help us out to get an even better day here today. So with about a minute to go, the aim is clear. We have no reason, no issues, nothing to affect us here coming into this beautiful day. So it's a matter of being disciplined and trading the best that we can trade, and also trading the best opportunities here. So XAIR, DCOI, ATON, and even the $12 stock AHMA, if that one ends up being strong. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up. So far, low 55. So we're kind of like in alignment with the 5-minute candle making a new high, but you know, into the open here, we could also see a lot of chop. So being patient. WATT also hitting scans. WATT, how does that one look? Not a ton out of WATT yet. Doesn't really look like much. XAIR does have a little bit of range here, so I'm seeing 55 to 65, 10 cents, which is good. So we had a bit of a double bottom there and a bounce back. The pre-market highs are at 75. High of the current candle, closer to 70. Seems to be decent so far. Um, XAIR seems to be the best one so far, I'd say. I mean, there's a 10-cent range at least, but besides that, we'll have to wait and see. There's been a few halts. WATT did open up some more. I wonder if it's worth it. Let's see. I'm going to check out the tape. Um, I'll check it out. Let's see. The halt levels at 814. Pre-market highs were at 745. The first pullback did hold up. It might get halted up here. It's pushing up pretty aggressively. XAIR, are we going to be, if this one is able to get over 68.7, then, you know, it could be the stock of the day here, but it's still pretty early. We might need more time to break out of the consolidation. WATT, on the other hand, highs of 814. I'm definitely a little late to it. I didn't think it looked that good earlier. I pulled it up, but it kept going. It is up quite a bit, so I'd want to be very careful of a pullback here and to let it bottom out and not be too aggressive trying to catch the falling knife. AHMA halting up. So we got a couple of different ones here. So AHMA halted up. WATT. It definitely has more of a range, being at $8. Right, the spread is going to be a little bit bigger at times. Yeah, this one definitely will have some risk. The 1 minute candle to make the new high here. And there's a 20-cent spread to the upside. And we're back down a bit. Let's see. Yeah, that is a tough one. No size there, but still very risky. I don't think I even have a share size that could help me manage risk on this one if I'm to use the free account. So WATT is pulled back, and it could be worth a entry here. I'm gonna keep an eye. What I do want to be careful of is multiple minutes of consolidation, right? Just in case the front side is over. So I'm gonna watch here very closely. And there's a spread, of course. The resumption is 2 minutes for AHMA. High 96, low 60. It seems to be holding WATT. Another minute 35 seconds for AHMA. WATT, I didn't take any entries there, but it did hold up. It's not out of the woods yet, and that candlestick is going to reject. It might come down. Let's see what it does. It might come down here, WATT. 55 seconds for the resumption, AHMA. It's fighting for its life, WATT. And there's a new low. And into a halt down. So at least we're gonna avoid that trade with the yeah, that's a tough drop there. I only have like I think 300 shares is what I have, which 300 shares is kind of a good amount of size for the stock. So I'm gonna hope we can see candlesticks here over time. 300 shares, my smallest size on the smallest size hotkey on the other platform. So, which is a little too much. Ooh, look at that dip. Look at that into a halt down. Can we hold up? It's kind of risky here. Not good. The dip and rip is just. Man, that is crazy. Dip and depths. Dip and cooked. Now, how do we look on the 5-minute chart, right? I think that's a good question because if we can see ourselves bouncing and curling over time. So I'm going to watch the red to green off the bear flag. And what I hope is that it's not an instant red to green. If we get the red to green off the bear flag here, this could be pretty good. So if we end up getting some sideways trend here, and then it curls back up for a new high, this could be pretty good. And then we can get into this range here of like 1350 by 1415, and maybe even test the pre-market highs over time. If not, Titanic shipwreck. But again, it's still early, right? Yesterday, the stock that I think was EVTV or whatever the stock was, we didn't really see a breakout till later. XAIR, I'm going to take a look at that one here. It's back at the highs. Pre-market highs are at 75. I think it's still early, so I want to be patient. Nothing really standing out just yet. XAIR definitely could be something. Got a couple of resumptions coming up. Taking a starter on XAIR. I'm going to add if it gets through 75. Back out. The resumption stocks are selling off and sinking like the Titanic. Although AHMA, did it halt down? Or yeah, it looks like it halted down there. Bit of a false push here for XAIR. If it gets through the level, I don't mind trying again. Again, keeping to the smaller size. This is definitely more of a breakout trade though. 75 and back to 71 right there. A little quicker drop. We need to push through the level and get into that new, that new range of like 80, 85, maybe 90 if we're lucky. Hope break of 2. But from 75 to 60, not a good look there. And that is a tough drop right there. All right, I'm going to check out some of the other ones. ATON. ATON, is there something here? It's below the VWAP though. VWAP is currently at 217. Nothing looking great just yet. Still kind of, trying to find that hot stock of the day. Still a little early. ATON, does it have what it takes? Our 5-minute candlestick is going to close in a minute's time. So we need this candle on the 1 to hold up here. And preferably close above VWAP. If not, we could be seeing a sell-off here. UAVS also was mentioned. UAVS, maybe this is the one. The one we've been searching for. The one to take us to the moon. I'm definitely interested in the setup here on UAVS. Time. 6. I gotta pull it up. What was the high? 13. I can't tell if AHMA is going up or down. Think down. Okay, yeah, definitely going down. Like sinking. UAVS. Can we see over the previous high? Damn, I'm gonna miss my ad. It definitely seems like it could give a little bit more, but the volume is a little light to the buy side here. We need to see over 13 if this is gonna like open up to become a really good stock. Still not out of the woods yet, but the setup is there for the 5-minute candle to make the new high. I'm only holding a small size from the original position. with a trailing stop here now. If we can get over 13 and open up, then, you know, this one can provide some opportunities. But gotta be careful in case we see an early pullback here on the 5-minute chart, because we are up quite a bit. Checking the chat. XAIR curled back up, nice. It doesn't seem like it's like pulling away just yet. The key here is for it to hold above 70. XAIR. The highs were at 90. On a false breakout candlestick, interesting. All right. Does it have what it takes for the breakout here? Pretty close. What I'm asking myself right now is, you know, are we seeing good momentum? I'm only now really pulling this one up, so All right. It seems like this is our stock here. Watching and waiting. It's crazy, bro. There's a new candle on the 5, so gotta watch here in case there's a bigger pullback. Looked like a bit of a false breakout there for a sec. $21. Wow. It's quite insane. So I'm going to miss this trade here. In at 12. Out at 14 on that drop back down. A bit of a close one. One, two, three. The stock is given quite a move. I mean, I've kind of botched the last setup. The first two, being that I'd pulled the stock up a little later, but I kind of missed those two. And then I botched that third opportunity there. But that was pretty close. You had 22, it came back down to 14, 13. Stopped out there at the lows. Will there be another opportunity here? This could be backside. What's good is that this is very similar to what we had yesterday. The bad news is I didn't really get to capture the move properly. I had to be watching it a little earlier. This could be backside, but let's see. Could be the beginning of the end. $13 to $30. I think unless it makes a new high, I'm not getting involved. AHMA. AHMA, big red to green there. If it makes a new high, it definitely means business. That setup right there is the one I lost on twice yesterday. This same setup. Titanic. Titanic shipwreck. AHMA, is it worth it? I think this is backside already. That's why I'm not touching it. And I missed the first two pullbacks. What happened is that I was watching UAVS a little too long. So when this thing was at 175, which is where I would have loved to be taking my first trade, you know, I kind of already missed that entry and trying to break out at 2. The dip that came in there, I didn't get a chance to jump in. And I wouldn't even say get a chance. I kind of just wasn't sure if the stock was ready, you know. I just needed to be looking at it a little sooner. Right now, I'm not touching it because I think it's backside. If I was here a little sooner, I would have been able to tell this was, you know, a little stronger of a move already. So when we pushed over 90 and we got to $2 and then, you know, we had 82, I was still on the fence of if we're seeing like a false breakout and this thing not quite being as strong, especially with this big red candle that came before. So wasn't super aggressive to jump in for this 3-bar play here. This one I traded perfectly and got stopped out, sadly. The first buy that I took off this drop up to 30, I'm in at 09, but I took a starter looking to add it. That was the bottom, so I didn't really get the 600 shares I would have wanted. But added to 450 shares somewhere there on the second drop, and then once it curled up and came back down, so 22 to 14 or 22 to 13, I'm like, okay, this looks like a false breakout. So I stopped out at 13 and I missed the push over 35. It's like it came back to my break even, which was pretty much my stop in the trade at that point, or 1 cent above my break even. So that one was a tough trade to miss. Right now, I think it's in the depths for now. Maybe it consolidates for another 30 minutes and then does a red to green, but I can't touch it here. It's against the rules from what we saw the trend to be. Now, if it gets back to the highs, then, you know, I think if I caught it early, I could have hit my daily goal here with the smaller size, but I'm gunning for closer to 200 bucks, which I think is very doable even with the small size. The 5-minute chart is still holding up, so I'll keep an eye. But holding off until closer to the highs. What happens is if this stock makes a new high, right? If we push over 42, then for sure, I know there's going to be more momentum to like 270. Like right now, I there doesn't look like there's anything left in the short term. Like, can this flag here open up to 35? And it's not as obvious. So this uptrend could very well already be finished, which was 75 to 42. This could be the beginning of the end here for backside. Sometimes these stocks will do this and maybe make a new low, and after 30 minutes or so we curl back up, but I'll be waiting. If it sells off to the depths, that's it. Was this one not tradable on Thinkorswim? Man, that's crazy. If it wasn't, that's kind of crazy. There's nothing special about this stock, Like in terms of like a stock going from like 2 to 20. So if this is not tradable, then that's just crazy. It was a nice move, but like, not anything crazy like compared to what we've seen before. We've seen stocks go from 2 to 140 in one day in like a couple hours. Halting up, resuming after 15 minutes with a 20-point move up again. If the 5-minute candlestick makes a new high here, it could be an indicator that it could be strong coming up, but I still will wait. You gotta be wary of the false breakouts here. EVTV. Holy smokes. EVTV. To the moon. Damn, that was a big move. 28 to 80. Damn. I'm definitely interested in this pullback. So switching over to EVTV. I mean, I kind of botched that. I definitely had to take a little bit more size there. Relatively speaking, all right? So it's a bit of a double top unless it gets through 4 here. There's a big bid of 15,000. Will it help it out? There's a big seller now. Those shares looks like they're bought up. Yeah, it's like just I'm trying not to be scalpy. I'm trying not to be scalpy here. Sellers at 4. This one definitely has strength here. So definitely we'll be watching the next dip. But it hopefully pushes through 4 here actually would be good. And a lot of sellers there. There will be a new 5-minute candlestick, which is worth mentioning here. The bottom, the low, saying the low there was 60. Kind of tough to get in there the way how the price action was. XAIR Titanic disaster. But again, stocks like that, maybe consolidates at the low once it bottoms out for like an hour or something, and then you come back at 4 p.m. You saw it made a new high, right? This one might pull back more. Got to be careful. It's a bit of a double top at the pre-market highs too. Hmm. So I was hoping it would have went over 4, but this is fine. We'll see how it plays out. Yeah, wow, that I gotta not be scalpy. uh what happened there is the 1-minute candle to make the new high was so high up. That's basically the trade I'm gonna attempt right there, but it's like a breakout trade. It's carrying its risk. It's a false breakout. But time to get out. I bought a second time and then took a small loss. XAIR giving a small red to green there. Actually, through 24 is going to be interesting. It's a big level there if it gets through 24. I'm waiting here patiently for EVTV. I gotta make a hotkey for 300 shares. Time. This, okay, XAIR actually is in an interesting area here. Holy shit. Damn, did I get 50? Oh, 43. Shit. Damn it. Only 300 shares there, but I'll take it. Yeah, that 24 level is kind of obvious, right? What was the 5-minute candle to make the new high? 20 and 23, pretty much. Damn. Does it have more momentum? This dip could be pretty good. This dip could be pretty good here. I'm gonna pull it up. XAIR. I got to be careful not to get stopped out of this trade. I think it does look good, but there is a new 5-minute candle, which is worth mentioning. I think I could have gotten the top tick exit, but I was pulling up my 5-minute chart and I kind of like got the slippage down. But it was a good push though, the 24 to 50. If it has momentum here, you know, we should be retesting the highs and getting a new high really and truly. So a good question is, you know, do we have what it takes here? Nope, we do not. There's a bigger drop. So about 7 cents unrealized in the green to a loss there. About a 10-cent loss. Might need a little bit more of a pullback. It doesn't have the momentum, at least not for that quick push. So it might need some time here. 22. Again, you guys will notice every time we pull back into our previous resistance, I'll take a loss. The breakout was at 24. We had a low right there of 22. That if we make that type of dip there, you know, I'll take the loss. Now I could potentially buy back in that area, but you know, ideally we don't want 100% retracement of the move. So hopefully we do hold that level at least right now and then try again over time. But this type of green candle definitely hints towards some momentum, right? So maybe a quick 3-bar play, even if not, you know, the 1-minute candle here makes the new high. And that's probably my cue to get out, right? Like the 1-minute candle rejected the new high. It only went up by 3 cents. So I probably should have been out at like 38. I don't know. It's been a bit of a messy day here, I'd say. Definitely still interesting. Mm, Right now, I'm hoping it just doesn't teleport up because then I'm definitely not going to be in. It's definitely a bit of a prolonged consolidation, right, versus that bigger green candle. So I want to play it slow and not rush. I think we don't want to see this thing back below 20. You know, below 20 is like pretty bad. Below 20 will be the depths in the short term here. Wow. Nice. I'm not in there. 28, 29 is a nice bounce. It definitely Well, we're right back down. Again, below 20 is where it gets dicey. Bit of a false breakout there, though. But although we didn't get to the highs are at 50. So it could still just be part of consolidation here. Below 20 is where I'm not touching this thing. Shoots, bro. It definitely gives the vibes that it could teleport, you know? Back out. I do not want to see below 20. That we had 18 there. That was a 10-cent loss. Not ideal. Although a little higher fill going in. 28 entry, filled a little higher. Maybe 29 entry. Filled 32. So that previous low to high 20s kind of giving out there. It's hanging by a thread here. It needs to hold over 20 if possible. Damn, so that big green candle was a bluff, bro. False breakouts. So despite getting a new high, we kind of didn't really get another leg in the move, you know? It seems like the red to green off the extreme lows were the better entries coming up to be in and holding. Everything after the big green candlestick was kind of didn't really resolve into another push. We did have opportunities there though, from 20 to 35 area to high 30s, but none of it resulting into a new high for 60, 70. It might try again. Still holding 20 area, so it might try again, but again, you got to watch out for the false breakouts. It might be time to ease off. If we don't see quicker resolution, could be time to ease off. At this point, I'm gonna get back into the boat of not touching it unless we get a new high of day. The setup at 24 earlier was just too clean to not take, despite not quite being at the highs. But right now, I'm back on the sidelines unless it gets over, 242 area. The only other stock that was mentioned in the chat was EVTV, and we had AHMA, forgetting the name of the ticker, AHMA. Yeah, did it end up holding up those halts? Doesn't look like it. Definitely a bit of a frustrating day for me. Would have loved to be around like the $200 level. Missing some trades and a few losses there. It's like there's no reaction anymore. Someone in the chat room saying that they're banned. There's like zero reaction nowadays because it's just such an often occurrence. Again, can we see over 40 here? Teleport to 60 in a sweet move. Surprise us. People are still getting banned too is interesting, right? I don't know. I've had conversations with people that don't hyperscalp at all that's gotten banned. Like hyperscalping was not something they would even consider doing. But they would like hold I mean it's kind of interesting. I don't know. It's tough to say, man. Yeah, it's tough to say because some people they haven't hyper scalped and they EDBL by the way EDBL was hitting the scans here penny stock halt up is at 103. I mean even if stocks are getting banned, multiple platform the way to go. I don't know. I think this could be the end of the day unless this thing makes a new high again for me. This could be it. This was definitely by far the best one of the day. Getting stopped out of that trade before the push to 38 was just tough. We had the right entry. We did have a trailing stop at the break even. We didn't quite hit our break even. I mean, it was 1 penny above. We kind of took the trade off there. And then very quickly we had a push to 22 again, and then it pushed through 27 and then teleported to 38.40. We would have had a nice trade there, closer to 500 shares. So again, you know, if something like this ends up pushing up, could be good here. I'm not going to attempt the breakout, actually. I'll just wait for the next kind of like consolidation. If it does go. Looks like the Mighty left early. The Mighty set a bit of a roller coaster ending green, taking it off the table. Crispy giving us an update there as well. Good green day. NR. Green as well. Nanny, small red. John in the green. Tuba minus 1K today. I need the matrix. Kangaroo. Yeah, this stock looks like it's cooked stew. Let me see. Kangaroo. Damn, that's an interesting spelling. I can't spell to save my life, it would seem. Kangaroo. I said kangaroo. I'm cooked. I'm fully cooked, Steve. Hollis ending green. Looks like most of the chat room is ending green, which is good. Yeah, I'm out of here too. I think the better opportunities came and went on this one, especially from 175 to 242 in that first range. I think is where we had some of the better moves. In summary, I put this is the stock of the day right here, this one, right? I pulled it up just a little late, showing up around like 185. And I did witness the push here up to $2. Attempted the breakout, didn't really get much. And on the first pullback here that we had, I just wasn't in a good enough of a groove to tell if we were holding strong. Like if we're if we're seeing some really good momentum, you know. So didn't trust this pullback. Just didn't have enough information yet, I'd say. So we kind of missed it. And, you know, that pushed up to over 229. We did bottom take this dip here with smaller size. We needed, relatively speaking, to the size we're using, right? We could have had a couple hundred shares. And in this pullback in itself, once we you know, got up to 480 shares, I think it was, we ended up getting stopped out right before this move. There, I think we have to look at the 10-second chart to kind of see what got me. 10-second chart will show it much better here. Let's see. So we had to push to 29. We had to drop down to 08. We had 24. And then we came down 11. So this is where I added back right here. Got up to close to 500 shares. And right here, this stopped me out. This right here is what stopped me out, man. We had 22 which is a little higher. 24 was kind of like the original high, the bounce. We had 22 right here. My entry, my average was 12. We came down to a low of 13 on this red candlestick, and I'm like, hey, this thing is looking a little dicey here. I stopped out right there and just missed this big move. I mean, just that one would have pushed us very close to the daily goal with the smaller size. Just a tough one to stop out of because we already missed the last two, right? 175, we missed, not looking at the stock at all. Break of two, we're pulling it up, we're just not quite in position. And the entry where we had no excuse, we stopped out. So I'm pretty much 0 for 3 on the big moves here, which is just a little frustrating, but next time we got to try to get to the stock of the day a little quicker. But today, though, I felt a little bit more weird in terms of like trying to find that hot stock, right? We traded even more stocks than we would have wanted to. Thinking, even the UAVS at one point had a big green candle, started looking like it was something and then quickly phased out. EVTV at one point curled up. So a lot of stocks kind of, and this one, I'm not sure if people who were looking at it the entire time caught the red to green, but once we started getting this type of move, you start thinking, hey, this is going to be the stock of the day, right? Nice stair stepping up, which is what we want to see, but then we kind of had this massive consolidation ever since. And these green candles were pretty big too. So we're going to create the 300 share hotkey. That way we can get a little bit more of something on the moves. So it feels like a bit of a strange day, right? Just not really getting to capitalize on the hotter stock. We did trade the one opportunity where we were in position with all the data. We did trade it well, just kind of tough to stop out there, but tomorrow we got to be in front of the hot stock of the day early. Try to get up there towards around $200 with a small size. Parjan, what's going on, man? Good to see you. Your Instagram page looking pretty clean. I actually saw it, I think, a couple days ago. This guy got the moves, bro. The LA dancers. Let's just see. I'm going to switch over to large cap stuff here. So I'm just going to take a look right now. Uh-oh. Tesla 450. Daily chart, daily chart, daily chart. All companies are just not created equally, right? When you compare a stock like Meta and a company like Meta to like Snapchat, it's just no comparison really. And Meta here pulling back a little bit. The moves that we've had since the pandemic, man, I mean, just unreal, right? Dang, the stock market is insane. I mean, which in these last 4 years have been insane, right? All the money printing and I mean, it just seems like there's just way more money circulating in the world now than there was before 2020, 2019, Back when rents and mortgages and everything was cheaper. Interest rates, of course, had went up a ton. So it's like these last 4 years almost felt like 10 years of trading, It's how insane. Yeah, I mean, just look at the charts of these stocks, right? compared to 2015 to 2020, compared to 2020 to 2025, 2026. It's madness. Plus, we're more expensive in price too, right? Making it that much more, degree more of difficulty to see that move, as you can afford less of the shares as the company keeps going. So, very insane last 5 years here in the market. So again, that's it for me. A bit of a strange day. Just didn't really get to capitalize. Is how I would sum it up. Um, we're grateful to end green, but we definitely would have wanted to get our hands more on the hotter stock of the day, being there a little earlier, capturing the move through $2, and especially the pullback that I love, which is the break and hold of the previous resistance. Would have been really nice to get XAIR. That was around the 175 area if we pull up the 1-minute chart. So we had this consolidation here, and when I switched away, we had broke down one of these areas. I think it came down to like 148 here, or maybe it was even the first time around when we pulled back to 137. I kind of switched to one of these other stocks that were moving up, and by the time I came back, I kind of missed it into the early push here. And even this setup, I would say, is a little tough to take. It's a good red to green here, but it's still somewhat of a bearish engulfing. But this is why it's important to see the move, because if this was a fake wick, which I can't tell if it was, if this was only up to like 178 or even 175, and it priced in a fake wick up here, one of these magic wicks, then we know it's not really a full-on bearish engulfing. We just had issues at the resistance, and we came back down to retest again, and now we have candlesticks closing above the level here to then try for a new high. But if it did get to 190 and hard rejection, I think I could have been a little bit hesitant on this setup here for reasons, that we just saw, right? Which is a big flush out. Typically, if we're going to, reject this hard, it means we could reject hard again. And you got to be cautious towards us flushing down. But after that, it did give a nice move up. And some opportunities here in the consolidation as well. The consolidation always have opportunities. We just have to be careful with getting in the right areas, and then, watching the move higher. And then a nice breakout over 23 and 24 on the way back up. Would have loved to see this continue here to 280, 290, but all good in the neighborhood. And it doesn't mean that it doesn't try again between now and 4 p.m. or even in after hours, right? Depending. But shutting it down. Hopefully, for those of you in the chat room and even on the YouTube stream as well, hopefully you guys had a good day and were able to lock in something. If you did fall short of the goal, if you did end red, or even if it's a max loss day, the key is to jot down all the important information in terms of things you can do better for the adjustments. And then tomorrow when you show up, the goal will be to not make those same mistakes again, but instead to stick on the side of doing all the correct things that you saw in the trading session to be a little bit better. Because over time that does compound, and before you know it, you're at a place where you're just killing it. So shutting it down, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.